As you can see, I got my Banshee somewhat torn apart. I just swapped the paddles over last night. Found these online for super cheap with the rims. It was like 25 bucks for these tires with rims, and these paddles are way better condition. So these old ones have been going for a few seasons and they are just chunked up. So we got some paddles on it, and previously we did a lot of work to this thing, water pump, clutch, a bunch of little goodies in the engine. Very soon I want to do a full motor rebuild on it. So we're going to the dunes in like 2 weeks. I don't want to do all that right now and risk taking this motor apart and just getting caught up in a rush, maybe even missing the dunes. So we're going to go out this trip, abuse this motor one last time, and then bring it in for a full rebuild. This motor is very leaky and just the seals are bad. So I mostly want to come in here, reseal it. Alright, so in the last video I said I was going to give away a little Zuma package. So we got the cup holder, hold the spark plug, hold your beer, and we got some Zuma stickers. So I'm going to go through the comments now on the other video. I'm going to find someone who talked about having a pre-bug because I want to make sure it goes to the right person. And we usually do random, but I'm going to find someone on here and we're gonna give them a little package here. Alright, DJ Young Hair Loss, you win. Homie said he has a white panel set that needs the stickers. You're getting the stickers, my dude. So I've seen him comment on the videos a bunch. Shout out to you, and send them out to your way. Just DM me on Instagram. I went ahead and I pulled the plugs, but it looks like it's running pretty rich. So we might be able to lean it out now. I got some new plugs coming for it. We got an OEM airbox lid, filter, all these goodies to throw on. I'm gonna pull the carbs out right now. I'm gonna obviously clean the carbs, and I wanna check the jetting because the plugs look a little rich. See, I was gonna remove my airbox to just get in there and clean everything out, and then I remembered there's this mess of wiring that runs crossover, and then it has grounds going down there, and then all the switches, and then there's a lot of wiring mess in here. Crazy relay setup, like really old school setup in here. I want to find a better lighting solution for this than running these 4-pod lights, because these lights blow out like literally an hour or two into riding every single time. So this electrical setup is just not too great on this bike. It keeps popping those lights. I want to change the taillights too, because I think 2 of these are gone, and it has 2 down there and 2 up here. I want to figure out a better light setup for this bike, and when I come in here and clean it all up after the season, I want to put a brand new wiring harness in here and dial this thing in, rebuild the bottom of the motor, and like I said, just really finalize this bike. So right now we're kind of slapping some new parts on top of something we're going to be taking off, but we're just going to do that temporarily, and then we're going to come back, we're going to finalize everything and get it dialed, because this thing needs some love. The amount of sand that was in this airbox was actually concerning. So as I started to pull off the actual intake, I noticed that there was a bunch of sand in my intake boots leading to the carburetor. I can't imagine when the last time this was cleaned out. And like I said, this thing did not have a sleeve over the oil filter. So it was a raw filter, wasn't oiled. I can't imagine the amount of sand this thing actually breathed in. So it kind of concerns me that the cylinders probably have a lot of scoring on them, and the rings are probably not in the best shape with the amount of sand that's got in there. Alright, so we got a few more things for the Banshee. So as you see here, we got a new seat for it. It's not an OEM seat. I went with a cheaper China seat, but this is not like an OEM bike at all. So it doesn't really bother me as much as like my other Banshee that I built, where I wanted like everything OEM as possible. But this seat is a very old seat, and from the heat and everything of just sitting out, the plastic pan underneath the seat has like just like formed crazy. So as you can see, there's a huge gap here in the front because it's like pulled back and it's really sharp. There's like no foam anymore on the corners, and then it's actually bowed out to the sides here. So like your legs really, here's the plastic, there's like a real bow out here. I think it's just from the heat of the engine and everything. I knew I couldn't just do a cover, and look at all this play. I mean, that's not missing any of the rubbers under the seat or anything like that, but I knew I couldn't just do a cover and keep this pan going, because this pan's just really flared out up here. So went with the brand new seat. The China seat fits pretty good. It's hard to get on in the front here, but I actually like how of a tight of a fit it is. Once it's on there, look at that. No side to side. It's really close up on the gas tank, and most importantly, no flare out here on the sides. It's smooth as the plastic, so your legs grip a lot better. You don't have a sharp piece of plastic like digging in right here. As you can see, you rub a lot on it, and they actually rubbed trace of plastic there, so that one's almost flat, it's so bowed out. And then this one is just nice. It's a black seat. It's not cool like the 90s Cascade stuff. It's a Cascade seat cover. Really like iconic to this bike in my opinion, because the colorway matched so good, but that's okay. I eventually want to go with the OEM plastics and full graphics kit and get rid of the cut fenders. So I think a black seat will match pretty good with the OEM kind of look I'm going to do to it. That being said, we got a seat. We still got, you know, the airbox and everything to throw in there. I'm actually going to go pick up some jets for these carbs because it right now has a 152 in it. And like I said, it's running a little rich. We're going to down jet it just to a 150. So I need to go pick up some jets. Also got some new shock wears because just how these shocks were blown out and the seals get bad in it is because the sand is like literally like sandpaper. Once you get sand up on the shaft of your shock and you know your shock's actually up and down, it's like literally just sanding away at the rubber seals. These and the sand dunes, in my opinion, is dumb not to just run, just to have that extra care for your bike. So we got one in the rear. And I had them up front, but the one, my shock blew out last year and it soaked it in shock oil, so much sand was on it, it was all dirty and they were just really faded. So got some fresh shock wears. Also I noticed on the front shock, which is going to be hard to see, you can hear it. I don't know if you can see that. The shock is like moving on the bolt and the bolt's not loose, so it's like, we're going to check it out right now. I'm going to get a floor jack up the front of this thing, and we're going to see what's going on here. Dude, it better be missing a shim and that bushing's not just blown. That is terrible, man. What is that? I do not like that. Oof, that's the bushing itself. No way. That is no good, boys. Look at all that play. That bushing. Oof. Hopefully you can see this pretty good. Look at this. Look at all that play in that bushing. Thing is done, dude. It's toasted. It is toasted in there. So I'm trying to take measurements and see if I can find a bushing online that would fit. Alright, so the bushings had to be ordered because these are old work shocks and they were revalved, I believe, by PEP or PEP. That's why they have PEP engraved on them here. But basically, you just can't get stuff for these shocks. So I found a guy that actually on the Banshee Facebook pages makes his own bushing kits for these. So they're Heim style bushings. Should be better, but yeah, the bushing play is pretty bad in here. And I didn't even notice it was the bottom ones too when I actually was looking at the other ones. So if you look, bottom one has some play in it too. So we got all 4 bushings, tops and bottoms for both shocks coming in. So now I have 150 main jets because they have 152s in it. I wanted to go to 148s, but I didn't want to risk it. And I just want to go down a teeny bit because it wasn't like the bike was running super rich in the top end. I'm just going off the plugs here. So clean those carbs, throw the jets back in. I'll be able to throw the carbs back on and then throw the airbox together, clean that up a little bit more, throw that all together. I also grabbed some new grips while we were in there because I had mixed match grips on this thing for the longest time. So slap these bad boys on as well while we're at it, while we're cleaning the carbs, get everything ready to go. Alright, we got our new airbox kit for an air filter for the Banshee. So it's a Pro Design kit, so it comes with the Pro Design mount for the actual box. It comes with your cover, oil that bad boy up, and then we got our filter itself. This came with some hose clamps and everything. It has a filter cage. My other filter was literally just the raw filter with no filter cage, so it was probably like sucking it in too and like deforming the filter. So there's probably a bunch of issues going on there. Alright, new filter's all in there, looks good, all cleaned up, everything in the airbox is cleaned up, so now we have an OEM airbox lid and seal to put on, and she should be good to go on the airbox setup. Carbs are completely taken apart right here, but they're all cleaned up now, and I even cleaned the intake boots because they had some sand buried in some crevices in there. So got those all cleaned up, used the ultrasonic cleaner, got everything pretty minty looking. So now it's time just to slap it all together. We'll throw it in. There's something so satisfying of rebuilding carburetors. It's just interesting to see all the little pieces. You can see exactly how they work. But we reassembled everything and we set all the floats to be matching, holding the carb at 45-degree angles and getting the float to sit right. Well, we pretty much did all that work on the Banshee for nothing. So I should have looked at this earlier, and I meant to. I just got sidetracked with all the new goodies that came in, but I just did a compression check on this thing. Don't stop it. It's not going past 60 PSI right now, boys. Look at that. 60 PSI. Should be about like 150. So, Banshee, no good, boys. It is time for the full rebuild. I mean, I kind of wanted to do it, but it looks like we're definitely not going to be able to hit Dumont in this next weekend. Alright, you would not believe this, but this, I guess you would believe it because it's Harbor Freight. Pittsburgh compression tester, complete garbage. It kind of threw me off and I kind of questioned it only because both cylinders were drastically low. At 60 PSI is insane. if one was like 80 and one was 60, I probably would have fell for it more. But them being both very low at 60, I was like, something's got to be off here. So sure as hell, after doing some research, there's differences in compression testers. So this one has the valve actually like 24 inches from like the gauge itself. So this line gets full of air and it expands, especially with the smaller engine motors, because this one has the valve at the gauge, so it holds all the air once you push it up into the gauge, so it keeps that up. So I went and bought another pressure tester, and check it out, boys. Hold on, this is cold too. We should probably warm it up and then test it, but full throttle as you're supposed to. Now we're at 150, boys, or right below 150. The other cylinder was 150. 150, we're gonna call that good because we have the 21cc domes in it. It should probably be around like 160, I believe. But honestly, I don't even know what squish is in here. I don't know how much he set this thing up. All I know is we're not at 60 psi, and it makes sense because the bike would fire up like second kick. It would. There's no way it would do that with 60 psi compression. It was just confusing. Let me tell you, we're back to business, which means we're able to make the weekend trip now. Now we got to get this thing running and get it all back together ASAP. Throw some plugs in it. Carbs are all clean. They're back on there, so we just need to run the fuel lines, throw the gas tank back in, drain the old fuel out of the gas tank, new plugs, and I got some non-restrictor plugs, so B8 ES, not the R's. Got a spark plug tester too. I guess I'll show you why I want to run the non-restrictor plugs. Alright, showing you guys this right now. So we got the R plug, BR8 ES on this side. We have the non-restricted B8 ES on this side. And we're simply going to show you, we'll turn them both so the strap is facing the same way so the spark looks identical. And shut off the light in here. Which one's looking brighter to you boys? Look at the difference there in the non-restricted. Non-restricted on the right. Look at that difference. That's insane. It won't focus. And she's running absolutely amazing. I just fired it up, pulled it outside. I mean, I can show you real quick, but the throttle's so touchy, just your hand resting on it. I have to loosen up the cable a little bit. I feel like I got the car synced pretty damn well. So I pulled the boots back off and I actually pulled the filter back off and I got a light, look down there. Looks like the slides are matching up perfect. I'm getting full throttle out of both of them. I got the AF screw exactly the same on both of them. The idle's a little hard to tell, but I believe I got it synced pretty damn good. We're gonna drain all the transmission oil out of it. Got some new Bel Ray gear oil, which I wanted to try out anyways for wet clutches. So, because I don't know, I feel like for a brand new clutch, I have the Mac Daddy Racing clutch in here. I think it was slipping last time we went out. So I want to blame it on the oil that was in there, and we'll drain that out, put some new oil in. Alright boys, so the bushings in my shocks were shot and I couldn't really find a direct replacement, but I found an upgrade. One of the dudes on the Banshee pages on Facebook responded to my post, and he makes these Heim joint conversions. So now we're going to be pressing out the old bushings, and we're going to be swapping in some Heim joint style bushings. So let's pull this shock off and we'll get straight to it. Alright, new Heim style bushing joints are in, and it's time to throw the shock on. I didn't film this one because I want to figure it out myself, but I got it down. So I'm going to throw this one in, I'll take the other shock out, and I'll show you just how we did it. The front wheels are in the air right now on both sides. So I got it just like pretty much relying on the shock and the suspension right now. That's the shock playing in the bushing. So when I'm at full lock, it's just shoving the bushing and just moving that little bit and not suspension. So the whole front edge is clanking the whole time. Alright, so here is how we were looking before. We got this bushing that's just completely blown out. It's just this part right here is way too like ovalized and just worn out from the bolt and this bushing bouncing around it. The rubber got compressed and it's loose, and this one up top, as you can see, it's just blown out of the sides. So all this is bad. We pushed the old rubber mounts out using this tool that came with my new Heim style bushings, and just set that on there in the press. Bada bing, bada boom, press them out. The shocks were a little annoying to get lined up in the press right because they wanted to keep going sideways, but easy enough. Pressed out the rubber bushing. I was able to use the tool that was sent with the bushings itself, so it made it 100 times easier since I didn't have to try to find a socket or something that fit. Grabbed the new one, kept it in the freezer too, so it went in a little bit easier. Lubed up the shock a little bit and pressed that thing in. You want this thing sitting in the center. It actually has a stopping point on the tool, so it's very, very easy. So after that, you got some rubber O-rings. Put one in on this side, one in on the other side, and then we have to press in the ends of the heim joint that actually mount to the frame. Comes with both ends, and I put them in the freezer just so they press a little bit easier in. And oh, that one just went in by my hand. The other one I put in the table vise, but make sure the O-ring's in there. Yep. Oh wow, they just went in by hand. I'll put them in the table vise just to make sure, but yeah, just about. Wow, there you go. Now, same thing for the bottom one, and we'll be able to put our shocks back in. Banshee all thrown back together, looks absolutely amazing. Even went through and polished the plastics, so the plastics are shining so nice right now. Chrome to the dome on this thing, and it's shining bright right now. But now it is time to go hit the dunes for this. We actually got it super dialed, so we got the new shocks in there, the new heim joints, everything's hooked up in there. Thank God we figured out the compression thing, so that's all good to go. Carbs are all clean. We got the new air filter, airbox lid, all that. New seat on here. Got some gas tank covered gaskets, I guess you'd call them. And I also need a kill switch on this bike. Right now you have to drop it in gear and hold the brake, and it's very sketchy. So I'd like to put a kill switch and a headlight switch on here. So hook that side back up to it, and Banshee will be as good as ever. Literally the last thing we have to do is throw the new shock wears on the front shocks before we go out, because we just got these resealed and we don't want any sand in those fresh seals. Well, Banshee's all stored away now, and it was ripping at Dumont. I didn't end up throwing my GoPro on because we only had like 4 solid little rides when we went out that one day, and I focused more on just making sure my bike was tuned right and everything going forward and how the bike was running, and it was running good. Our group had a couple more Banshees out there that day. I think we had 4 Banshees total, and they were all pretty fresh builds, so we were kind of going through and just kind of setting the bikes up, make sure everything was tuned right for the season. So next time when we go out, we will get a lot more riding in, and I'll probably have my GoPro on. But if you remember from last time when we were doing the Banshees, and Juan had his Banshee build, the 1997 we ended up picking up off Craigslist very cheap. It was a really pieced together build when we first got it, and I think Juan pretty much just ran it as is. He threw a couple things on the bike, like swing arms and a bunch of other stuff, suspension, everything for the bike itself, but the motor itself was not so healthy even when we got it. So you can hear a lot of the bottom end. It sounded to me like the crank was just destroyed in the bottom end. We went out and his bike ended up blowing up. So the piston skirt broke off, rings gone, everything engine-wise terrible. So I have a little clip of it here, but yeah, his bike seized at the top of the hill. We were able to break it loose, got it back into neutral, pulled him back to camp, but the bike was just jammed with the piston skirt just stuck in the cylinder. Oh good, so Juan's motor blew up, so that's a rebuild coming soon, and then we'll have a fresh motor when we go out with Juan next time. So yeah, a lot more to come on the Banshees, but I'm glad that my motor was not blown. When we did that compression test, I thought that simple little mistake was gonna be a full rebuild on my engine. I'm glad we found that, and my Banshee was ripping. So that's gonna do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the little bit of Banshee content, because it's been a while. Always make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.